consecutive year, Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio takes the show on the road for pick-by-pick, fantasy-specific coverage of the NFL Draft. I know you just heard the intro of the panel, but I'll give them once again. Big game.
Yeah.
Torrey Holt, how are you, bud?
Good, man. Not bad at all.
Good to see you. When's the last time I saw you? Atlanta, I think, right?
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl,
yeah. A little work Super Bowl
Absolutely.
week. We've got the guru, John Hanson. John, always good to see you.
Yeah, great to be here. I'm excited. This is going to be a very interesting first day. I have more than half of the players going off the board, offensive linemen or skill players. So we should be busy tonight.
All right, Jeff Ratcliffe, Pro Football Focus. I trust you've been crunching numbers for months and months, Jeff.
Like always, I've been in a lab with a pen and a pad. I'm ready to get it on tonight, though, and live projections just like we did last year.
Love it. My man Bob Harris, who, we work a lot together. We only see each other in human form, as you like to say, rarely, a few times a year. This is 1 week we can count on it.
Probably too often, yes, and it is good for everyone to sit down at the same table, figure some things out. We have a lot to figure out, like Kyler Murray, who just as of now does not know where he's going, he claims. So we've got that to look forward to.
And let's welcome in for the first year of this coverage, but a great asset to Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. One of my personal favorites, Howard Bender of the Fantasy Alarm. What's up, Howard?
Not much, man. Looking forward to all of this. There's a lot of action. There's been so much chatter over this just the past week alone. It's just throwing everything all topsy-turvy. So I'm really looking forward to getting started tonight.
I'm Mike Dempsey of Football Diehards. We've got a lot of news to get into that's been coming out over the last hour or so. Before we do that, Howard, tell us what's going on at Fantasy Alarm with live video coverage of this weekend's events.
Well, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a couple of you guys, moving in and out. We're going to be going upstairs into a little bit more of a relaxed environment. We're going to sit down. We're live streaming this moment right here, right now. We're going to be live streaming from upstairs as well, Twitter, Facebook. It should be on YouTube as well. And you're just going to get a nice little inside look into everybody. And all their analysis.
That was the most romantic presentation I've ever heard. We're going to take them upstairs and do a more comfortable kind of scenario. The commissioner's going to make it to the podium in a few minutes here and officially open the draft. We know how this goes, right? They wait months and months and months. They're not ready to pick. He will open the draft. The Cardinals will be on the clock. Let's go down the line, starting from your radio dial on the right-hand side. Jeff Ratcliffe. Kyler Murray going to be the first pick in the draft?
No brainer, absolutely going to be the first. And it's not because he's the best player in the draft, it's because he plays the most important position in football. What he showed last year, not just the running ability. This isn't a Lamar Jackson player where he lacks accuracy as a passer. This kid can sling the rock. He's not quite Baker, but he's got some chops in that area.
You know how much I hated this narrative from the minute it came out.
You hate every narrative.
I do hate every narrative, but the whole, they hired Cliff Kingsbury because he said once that he liked this kid and they're going to draft. They just drafted. So, I still feel like, why does Steve Keim have a job? But he does, and this actually, over time, has come to make sense to me. If you're going all in, go all in.
I think we mostly, John, agree that he will be the pick. Should he be the pick? If you're picking for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think he does. You must match player with scheme. And Cliff Kingsbury's scheme is a beautiful fit for Kyler Murray. I'm totally with Jeff Ratcliffe here. And, he's could be a little taller, but I'm not worried about durability. The guy does not take many big hits. Yeah. He said on ESPN recently, my guy Adam Schefter tweeted it, it's kind of like Barry Sanders. Like he just doesn't, he has that natural feel for avoiding the big hit. So I think he's an absolute baller. I think he can throw it, run it. I think he has a feel for the game. I think it'd be crazy not to take him. I think you have one opportunity to get a special player like this.
Torrey, from a wide receiver's perspective, how much of an upgrade do you think he is over Josh Rosen?
I think it'd be, I'm sitting here looking at my notes. I wrote, needs the right OC, electric talent, a live arm, and a guy that can throw from as you mentioned, he can throw from the pocket. So as a receiver, you just want someone that can get it to you on time. He can throw the football down the football field as well, as we saw. He can make guys miss when there's pressure, and he can throw the deep comeback. So I like Kyler Murray. I think he's an outstanding talent.
All right, then, Howard, before we wrap this thought process up, assuming he is the pick, how valuable can he be in fantasy in his rookie season?
I don't necessarily know how valuable he is going to be in his first fantasy season. I always kind of hesitate with moves like that. I'll tell you this, though. The pressure's on. For Kingsbury to come in here to throw out last year's first overall pick, to come in and take his own and Kyler Murray, they better produce.
All right, again, Great panel tonight. We've got other guys that are going to join us, including the Roster Watch duo and others that will pop in throughout the coverage tonight. And we'll bring you what you've come to get used to over the last 4 years, exclusive fantasy analysis coverage of the picks, including the IDPs and how the players selected impact the other players that are already on NFL rosters from a fantasy perspective. That's what we'll be talking about tonight, tomorrow night, and all day Saturday afternoon as well. Again, live from the Fantasy Football Command Center in Nashville, Tennessee. That happens to be the Sirius XM studios inside the Bridgestone Arena, which is right outside all the chaos on Broadway, leading right up to the main stage of the NFL Draft, where Roger Goodell, at this moment, is opening up the proceedings by, sucking up to the crowd by bringing in the hometown guy, Marcus Mariota, because he figures he'll get booed less by doing that. So as he opens up the proceedings, our show is already open. When we come back, the Arizona Cardinals will be on the clock, and we'll start breaking it down to Sirius XM Fantasy Football NFL Draft Special on Fantasy Sports Radio. All right, we are live. How else would we be? Coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee, from the Fantasy Football Command Center, which is the Sirius XM studios. Beautiful inside the Bridgestone Arena. I love the setup. Great, cozy little setup. Nice AC kicking. We don't have to worry about anybody rushing the stage, although that was always a kind of a wild card that was fun to look out for, too, Tori, over the last few years. But I will say this: if you were playing Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio Draft Coverage Survivor, we pour one out for Jeff Mans this year, who is, I got to say, was a original member of the crew. This is our 5th year doing it. Jeff was with us for the last 4 years. Sure, he'll do many draft coverage features in the future as well. But as I looked at Jeff Radcliffe, Bob Harris, John Hansen, and right back at myself, we all wonder, who gets it next?
Who's next on the block?
You'll have to tune in next year to find out about that one. All right, as we went to the break, Howard Bender was saying that he's not quite sure that Kyler Murray will be a fantasy value in 2019. Let me go to Jeff Radcliffe here. Look, if he's more accurate than your Lamar Jackson type, Lamar Jackson was certainly valuable, right? He's smaller than Lamar Jackson guy too, but he's got the running ability, which gives you an instant floor when you come into the NFL. And if he gets drafted #1 overall, we know he gets the keys to the kingdom right away. How do you feel about him in terms of where he rates in the top, say, 15 quarterbacks?
I think he'd have to slide in pretty close there because he is the modern fantasy quarterback. You know, this era of fantasy quarterback is a dual threat quarterback. Let's not forget that every 40 rushing yards is the same amount of fantasy points as a passing touchdown. Now, I do not think he's going to rush the ball 170 times or whatever Lamar Jackson's going to this year, but he has enough meat on the bone there, plus his ability as a passer. Now, the concern is the surrounding talent. David Johnson, yes. Not a ton there. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald coming to the end of an amazing career. That's the concern, the offensive line. You know, there's some personnel things that will drag his fantasy value down just a little bit, but it's the dual threat ability that really is appealing.
Yeah, and I'm giving him 80 rushing attempts for 560 yards and 4 touchdowns. Let me ask you this. Name the last running type quarterback who entered the league the last 15 years who didn't have a lot of fantasy success. Even Colin Kaepernick early on, RG3, Cam Newton, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson. It happens over and over and over again. I think Kyler Murray should be ranked in the top 15.
Right. Well, if we presume health, I think he might be a top 12 quarterback when it's all said and done. We can't presume health, right? I mean, no more for him than anybody else. But, Bob, when you consider the weapons he has, all right, are they any worse than what Lamar Jackson had to work with last year?
And
They're better.
They're better, right. And on top of this, look, I mean, think about the conversation we were having this time last year or later this time, but about Pat Mahomes coming in. I mean, you can draft other quarterbacks, right? You can draft that high upside guy, maybe you burn an early pick on him. You take that gamble based on what we've seen from the Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and you say, I'm going to bet on that upside, and then you take a Phillip Rivers later. I mean, those things are going to work out for you still.
Tori, you look at last year, David Johnson was a consensus top 4 fantasy pick, right?
Yeah.
What is he this year to you? Is he a late first rounder? Is he should he be back in consideration in the top 4?
No, I think he's a late first rounder. You know, he's talked all off season about wanting to be a 1,000-yard rusher, be a 1,000-yard receiver as well. He does have that ability, though, you know, he dealt with injury and came back. I still think he has those kinds of skill sets. It's just a matter, can the offensive line hold up and create the lanes that he needs to rush the football the way they want to run it? And then, depending on the quarterback situation, can they keep the quarterback upright? And I know you guys talked about their talent, you know, other than Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk, he got hurt, but it's nothing else on that roster. Chad Williams is a guy that they like from Grambling. I had a chance to coach Chad at the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, but he never really panned out the way that they thought he was. Thought that they would. They brought in Kevin White from Chicago. I worked out Kevin White in the summer, and I tell you what, when I worked him out, it was the shorts and shirt. He's phenomenal. A ton of skill, but it doesn't translate. Hadn't translated yet to the football field. Farrell Cooper, who was with the Rams, was a punt return guy. So there's not a lot. When I look at this roster, there's not a lot. Whether it's Josh Rosen or Tyler Murray on this roster, they got to get more players.
I will say this. If Murray does go to the Cardinals, which we all expect, I do think the Christian Kirk, Kyler Murray connection could be pretty darn lethal.
And we're talking different things here too. You know, it's one thing to look at redraft, keeper, dynasty. That trajectory is potentially very high. Howard, can you make an argument that a weak offensive line for a mobile quarterback may actually benefit his fantasy numbers because he's used to running, right? He's not going to sit in the pocket and take that big hit. And typically, these running quarterbacks, they know what's coming at them. They see, and they're making other guys react to them. If the pocket forces him out, because of the line protection. Could he actually do better fantasy-wise because of that?
Inside the red zone, absolutely, 100%. I think inside the red zone, if the offensive line doesn't hold and he finds himself running, then he's going to take off and try and score. The problem is, though, is that the further they are back into their own zone, then it's a matter of can the weapons that he has get open downfield. If the coverage is tight on them and he's got nowhere to go, he's going to either end up trying to take it too far downfield and possibly get hurt, or he's just going to end up having to run it out of bounds or throw it away. So inside the red zone, I think the offensive line is garbage, then it helps him. But further back, on his own end of the field, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and big picture, it's the Russell Wilson effect. That line in Seattle has been craptastic for about a half a decade, yet Russell Wilson still puts up the numbers. Kyler Murray can be something similar.
Right, and we've seen, this is the model, though. Get the young quarterback in so you can pay up the talent around him and build up things like the offensive line, things you need. We see a number of teams doing that, and it wouldn't surprise me to see the Cardinals follow suit.
And by the way, the Cardinals obviously are on the clock. We're under 3 minutes to go before their pick. All the video coverages of Kyler Murray. Wouldn't you just like to, for the sake of drama, hear another name called right now and throw this whole thing to immediate
100%.
chaos? Wouldn't that be great? I mean, honestly, right? I have no stock in the Arizona Cardinals, who, by the way, could draft Hawkinson, Fant, and Irv Smith, and none of them would be any good because I'm just never going to draft an Arizona tight end. I just do not believe. There's something out there, there's a curse in the desert that prevents tight end production, fantasy-wise at least, in Glendale right now. So all right, 2 minutes, confidence level. I think everybody's on Kyler Murray right here, 100% across the board.
100%. Got a little Torrey, got a little Patrick Mahomes in him, and I love the way he just snaps that football.
The ball just rolls off his hand so easy, man. And I just like watching for a small guy. I like watching him in the pocket throw the football. I mean, size doesn't matter when you watch this kid throw the ball.
Have you ever seen, other than, I don't know when you'll see more shots of big-time TV personalities staring at the phone.
Right.
Right.
And it seems fitting that when Roger Goodell stepped up to the podium, the rain began. And
it does kind of seem
and
fitting, right? And it's interesting because the main stage is an open-air environment tonight. I think they're going to try to keep it that way, provided that there's not really danger, thunderstorms, that kind of stuff right now. The Cardinals are in the draft room on the phone. We will know. Goodell's got it's a minute 13 on the clock. Usually when that goes to 0, that means nothing. We've seen Goodell walk up there 5 minutes after that.
Let me ask you this, just to jump ahead right now. Let's say it is Kyler Murray, because we all think it's going to be Kyler Murray. With Arizona's next couple of picks, do they attack that wide receiver class that's not going to be taken